I'm Maya Paveza. Okay, I find that I've been saying or telling this story over and over again for the past few weeks, and people are like, you gotta put it on video. So I think I will, because like I say, for real estate, if you keep telling the same thing over and over again, then use it as an educational video and tell people one time. So, I have a metabolic disorder. At one point in time, growing up, starting about 8 years old, I gained weight. I think when I was 10 years old, I weighed like 140 pounds, which is pretty high for 10. I was tall, but still, I think I look like Grimace. And that's a reference to the, Golden Arches restaurant character, the purple thing. I wasn't purple, just shaped like that. I slipped and I fell and I broke my nose, and I think in the process impacted my pituitary and essentially shocked my endocrine and metabolic system. In doing so, what was already a genetic metabolic disorder called hyperinsulinemia or insulin resistance, which is essentially your body is producing too much insulin, nothing to do with diabetes, although it may be a form of diabetes. And the job of insulin in the bloodstream is to metastasize sugars into fat. It's our caveman thing. It's what we do. When the winter's coming, we eat more, we store it. I mean, that's, we're being a little archaic. We have heat now. We don't necessarily do that. There are also some genetic factors and anthropological factors. We have all evolved in different parts of the world, or some of us have families from a variety of places, and something in that process may be affecting our metabolic systems. So, if basic thermodynamics works, if you consume 2,000 calories a day and burn 2,000 calories a day, you will maintain your weight. But with insulin resistance and a high insulin level, you could be consuming 2,000 and burning 2,000, but of that 2,000 consumed, 500 maybe be converted to fat. Not because you need it, but because your body is malfunctioning. When that happens, you're now operating at a deficit, you're going to be hungry, and it's kind of like a snowball going downhill. The more weight you gain, the worse it becomes. So, for instance, if you went to a lab and you had a fasting insulin test, not a blood glucose, blood sugar, insulin, fasting insulin, that is the test. The normal range at most labs is 7 to 27. Guess what? Normal doesn't mean functioning properly. I've had a few theoretical discussions with a few doctors, pediatric endocrinologist George Dado at Nemours AI DuPont Hospital. He believes the ideal number is probably between 7 and 9. I think it's probably between 7 and 11. Well, at one point in time, my fasting insulin level was 110. I weighed 325 pounds. I had a fatty liver, and I was pretty close to probably dying if something wasn't done. I knew I had insulin resistance, but nobody really knew enough about it. And now it's epidemic. And I mean, when you have a 6-month-old baby that's obese, it's really nothing to do with activity and what they're eating. Essentially, my body wasn't processing carbohydrates right. So it was not how much I was eating, it was what I was eating and what my body was doing with it. With the max FDA allowed dose of metformin or glucophage, which is what they treat insulin resistance with, I was only able to get down to 52. Still well out of the ideal range or even the normal range. I had a surgery called Duodenal Switch with Michelle Gagne at Mount Sinai Hospital in 2001. After that, 1 year post-surgically with no medication, my fasting insulin level was 11. I had lost 165 pounds. I've lost more since then. And essentially, I can't gain weight because my body is now functioning properly. That doesn't mean I don't have a metabolic disorder. It just means that we found a way to fix it. Now, most people aren't as extreme. That is extreme. I hit my nose, impacted the pituitary. It went out of control. But had that not happened to me, I probably wouldn't know all of this stuff and be referring to Dr. Robert Lustig, pediatric endocrinologist at the University of California, San Francisco. He's the best expert out there on insulin resistance or hyperinsulinemia. And now I've met a really awesome nurse from Children's Hospital in Philadelphia who also works with this. So, and she speaks nationally. So anyway, my point is, if you have to avoid carbohydrates to lose weight, or if you have to do an Atkins-only diet to lose weight, these are some of the indicators that you may have an insulin resistance problem. The only way to determine that is to get a blood test. The blood test, normal range, 7 to 27. And for a long time, it blew my mind when I had friends that I could tell had hyperinsulinemia, insulin resistance, and they were coming in at 22 or 23. And I was like, dang, I know that's your problem. I mean, I can identify people on the street, point them out left and right. Well, George Dado told me that my daughter had a 14, and I was, whew, I'm so relieved. Good golly, she's well within the normal range. And he goes, no, Maya, we treat at 15 or higher. It's genetic, it's anthropological, and it's environmental. So, if you or someone that you care about is having a problem with weight, do some research on insulin resistance and hyperinsulinemia. It is really simple to treat most of the time. And people don't have to go to the extremes very often of bariatric surgeries like gastric bypass or lap band and things like that. The reality is, with insulin resistance, no matter what you eat, if it's really bad, you're going to be hungry and want to eat more. And especially with children, I was that kid. My mom would lock the refrigerator and do all sorts of things because she wanted me to be thin. And I was incredibly active in California. I was on swim team, played soccer, played softball, I ice skated, I had a pool, I rode my bike 3 miles each way to school. I mean, imagine if I wasn't active, how big I would have been. So it isn't necessarily a matter of just the simple concept of thermodynamics, because if that worked, it'd be really easy for everybody to lose weight. So be smart, notice what you're eating, park a little further away, but get your fasting insulin level checked. And if it comes in anything above 14, you want to seek medical intervention, because it can lead to a lot worse medical problems. In fact, if you're taking medication for diabetes and you lose weight and the cause is insulin resistance, you can reverse your diabetes. So there's a lot to know about insulin resistance, and my goal is to try to educate as many people as I can. So if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me and I will be happy to share it with you. If you need the name of a doctor, or if you want more information, I also suggest that you search Robert Lustig, Lustig, on YouTube. He has some amazing videos. He explains it far better than I do. But as somebody who used to be 325 pounds and now is, I rounded up to 140, 137, 138, whatever. I mean, what girl rounds up her weight? I can tell you, it makes a big difference. And oh, my fasting insulin level now is like 7.7. So I still have a metabolic disorder, but it's treated. So I hope that helps somebody. Thanks.